Hello everyone, and welcome to an all-new adventure in the distant lands of Hoenn. We've already explored Kanto with Rattata, a Pokemon from the very first route, and Johto with Sentret. So, what better way to continue this mini-series today than with Zigzagoon to see if it's better than its counterparts from previous generations. But before we dive into the adventure, let me explain the rules of the challenge. Zigzagoon is only allowed in battles, since this is a solo challenge, but to progress in the adventure, HM slaves are permitted. By HM slaves, I mean Pokemon that can learn hidden machines to clear obstacles and help Zigzagoon continue its journey. The second rule, which seems important to specify, is that items are prohibited in battles to keep the challenge somewhat competitive. With these rules clarified, we can don our Ace Trainer outfit and begin the adventure. As always, we start in Little Root Town, where our first mission is to save Professor Birch. He's being terrorized by a Zigzagoon, even though he clearly has one in his bag that we'll use to help him. He offers to let us keep it so we can battle May, which we eagerly do at level 5. But the battle takes a bad turn. Triaco is much stronger, so we'll need to train our new Pokemon a bit to overcome this early challenge. In the second attempt, we get lucky with a critical hit right off the bat. The battle is over quickly, and we speed through Route 101 back to Little Root Town. With the Pokedex in hand, we head toward Petalburg City. So far, the adventure is smooth, since the trainers pose no notable challenge, and nothing unusual happens, except during the catching tutorial, where we help Wally get a Ralts. I randomized the Pokemon for fun, and hilariously, Wally encounters a Sizer while using a Snorlax. After wasting time on his shenanigans, we enter Petalburg Woods to deal with a Poochyena from Team Aqua. It nearly surprises us with its many sand attack moves. Once the Devon Corporation employee is safe, we proceed to Rustboro City, where there's a gym. It seems appropriate to take a look inside. We dodge all the trainers to test our strength against Roxanne, who sends out a Geodude. It quickly becomes clear we're outmatched. Our attacks only deal 3 HP of damage, while her Pokemon can knock us out in 2 hits. In Pokemon games, many first gyms are Rock-type, yet most early game Pokemon, including Zigzagoon, are Normal-type. Knowing luck won't secure us a win, we decide to train our Zigzagoon extensively. This means a long grinding session, trying to maximize its attack EVs for the best results. We challenge the gym again at level 17, having learned Sand Attack to try and reduce our opponent's accuracy, but in this battle, Rock Tomb keeps landing despite our efforts. Even with attempts to lower the opponent's attack and defense, we're knocked out before dealing significant damage. There are still 2 more Rock-type Pokemon to face after that. Fortunately, after gaining 10 more levels, our Normal-type Pokemon sees an improvement. At level 24, we attempt the same strategy. Against the first Geodude, things go better. It allows us to attack much before we've lowered its stats. With Headbutt, we manage a 2-hit KO. For the first time, we defeat a gym trainer and move on to the second Geodude. Using the same strategy again, we reduce its HP, but not without losing some of our own. Geodude is finally knocked out, leaving Roxanne's ace Pokemon Nosepass to face us. We hope that Sand Attack will work this time, but the Rock-type's accuracy isn't reduced enough, and it lands a powerful stab move, leaving us defeated once again. We retry the battle several times, but the strategy proves too reliant on luck, at least at this level. So, we embark on yet another grinding session, a routine we're getting used to at this point, to approach Roxanne at level 31. Hopefully this will finally earn us our first badge. The adventure has been laborious so far, to say the least, but at least it's not as tedious as using Ditto in a solo challenge if we're looking for a silver lining. Geodude vs Zigzagoon, episode 84, scene 1. In this battle, Zigzagoon shows its newfound strength, striking before lowering Geodude defense. In under 6 turns, we're already facing Nosepass in what feels like a legendary showdown, with our HP still at a decent level. Since Nosepass wastes turns using block, a useless move against us since we only have 1 Pokemon, we take the opportunity to land powerful headbutts. These strikes are as decisive as in the World Cup final in Berlin in 2006, and thankfully, without a team of referees watching over us, it's easier to avoid getting a red card. Zigzagoon finally takes down Nosepass and secures the trophy. Wait, I mean the first gym badge. Honestly, it was about time. While training can be tedious, from here on out, we can progress more smoothly in the adventure. With a Pokemon in the 30s, we easily take down the Team Aqua Grunt, who stole Mr. Brainey's Wingull, and I'll never forgive that. No one messes with Pico. Grateful for our help, Mr. Brainey ferries us across the sea, though he jokes that it's more like the sea carrying us. We arrive without logistical issues to face Brawly for the second gym badge. Despite his theoretical type advantage, his Machop and Meditite seem to hate our headbutt. While Makuhita puts up some resistance, it's not nearly enough to quell the might of our brave Zigzagoon. With 2 badges in hand, there's little left to do on Dewford Island, so we head up the Spice route towards Slateport City. There, we once again deal with Team Aqua causing chaos in the museum. They clearly didn't understand that culture is off limits. After freeing Captain Stern, we continue northward to tackle 2 of the toughest battles in the game. The first is against May. Against her Wingull, Headbutt shines again, making quick work of it. Her Slugma also falls easily to the same attack. However, her Grovyle resists our move, but luckily, it flinches thanks to the 30% chance effect of Headbutt. So, the road to Mobile City is now a thing of the past. We face Watson and his multitude of electric Pokemon, crossing our fingers and hoping we're strong enough. Unfortunately, Watson is already faster, and with Spark, he can paralyze us. Meanwhile, Headbutt is no longer a one-hit KO at this stage of the journey. He explodes before fainting, which leaves us vulnerable to Electrike, who can finish us off with a single Shockwave. That's it. We've been caught by the game's difficulty curve. If we're being crushed by the first Pokemon Pokemon on his team, what will happen when we face the second stage evolutions that follow? We decide to defeat all the trainers in the gym, but that small boost in levels quickly fades when we face Magneton. It resists our normal attack, bad news, so it can punish us without us doing much in return. In this battle, 90% of the time we're paralyzed, either by Spark from earlier Pokemon or by Electric's static ability. So, if by some miracle we make it to Manectric, a single quick attack or electric move, both faster than us, finishes us off. It's time to rethink our strategy. Salvation comes with a move Zigzagoon learns upon leveling up, Belly Drum, specifically at level 43. It's a risky move, it cuts our HP in half, but it maxes out our attack stat. We teach it the move, and by using a Citrus Berry when we face Magneton, we pray it doesn't use an electric move. If this condition is met, we can set up and one-shot everything with the next headbutt. Finally, Manectric is no longer a threat. Now we've earned our third badge, which was quite a challenge. This really highlights the contrast between regular trainers and gym leaders in the game. Now we can use Rock Smash and head to Matt Chimney for our first showdown with Maxie. Since our Pokemon is once again over-leveled, a regrettable but necessary consequence of continuing the challenge, we can two-shot his Mightyena. As long as we don't miss, we stun his Zolbat before locking eyes with Camerupt. At this point, we've run out of physical moves, except for Dig, which is actually a terrible choice against the Camel Pokemon. Why? Because Magnitude hits us even while underground. Luckily, it's not enough to knock us out, and the Fire Ground Pokemon falls to the force of our attacks. Access to Laveridge Town is now open. We won't waste time and go straight to battle Flannery, who also uses Fire-type Pokemon. For this fight, we keep it quick, a Belly Drum setup, and since we're faster, we take out Slugma, then Numel, then Camerupt, and finally Torkoal. Our attack stat is way too high for the gym leader to put up any resistance. This is great, the adventure moves forward. We now have 4 badges and a strategy that seems solid for the remainder of the journey. Next, we face Norman in less than 2 seconds. If we don't use Belly Drum immediately, we can still take down his Spinda after accepting the HP sacrifice. Against Slaking, who has exceptional stats, Dig becomes our best friend. It avoids its attacks while allowing us to strike back. Vigoroth is slower, and a single headbutt finishes it off. Finally, we face Lanoon, our own evolutionary counterpart. But at our level, we outclass Lanoon, much to Norman's delight, who hands us the normal badge. This successful operation in the assault on the gym of Marvel City allows us to use the HM Surf to explore the eastern part of Hoenn. And since we have a true monster roaming the region, we're already at the 6th gym without breaking much of a sweat. This one is guarded by Winona and her flying Pokemon. Naturally, we picked up the TM Return to have the most powerful normal type stab move in the game. With that, there's no need for Belly Drum to take down the gym leader. Skarmory takes a bunch of hits, but it's no match for an attack with 150 power, especially since, by this point in the adventure, the Pokemon's friendship is at its maximum. So let's stop mocking Ash, okay? Thanks. From here, everything starts happening fast. Team Magma causes trouble, then Team Aqua. We dismantle several of their operations, awaken Groudon, and have the submarine stolen. Your usual storyline, but like Zigzagoon, we fear nothing. None of the major battles go any differently than using a simple return attack, and if necessary, a Belly Drum. This means we can go straight to challenge the 7th gym leader, or rather the 7th gym leaders, since this is a double battle. This fight, however, gets significantly trickier. Our ally is a tiny level 5 Magikarp, going up against Pokemon that can withstand our attacks. If we use Belly Drum on the first turn, we're guaranteed to take one of the opposing Pokemon's hits. Magikarp will faint, leaving us in a 2-on-1 situation. Even if we knock out one of their Pokemon, the second can finish us off with Psychic, which starts doing serious damage, despite a held Citrus Berry. The issue isn't power, since we've taught our Zigzagoon the move Shadow Ball, which is physical in this generation, allowing us to deal super effective damage against the rock and psychic types we face in this gym. So, we're forced to retrain our Zigzagoon. There aren't many options, but this is the problem with this double battle. Magikarp only lets us dodge one attack, the very first. We need a turn to set up though. Returning stronger against the twin leaders is our only option. By stronger, I mean at level 73, and with a revised strategy, we start with Belly Drum, restore HP with the Citrus Berry, and then survive an Earthquake. Using Return lets us avoid Claydol, which is the main threat at the start of the fight. On this turn, we get a bit lucky. Xatu doesn't use Psychic, but instead opts for Calm Mind. We take it out next, as it's the hardest hitter on the field. Now we're left against Lunatone and Solrock, who we can take down with Shadow Ball. Solrock, the last Pokemon, uses Sunny Day, which is again lucky for us, since it's not an offensive move. As expected, in a one-on-one situation, Shadow Ball finishes the job, neutralizing the final threat on the field. We now have 7 badges, and while it took some grinding, we made it. The victory wasn't guaranteed, and we almost had to rely on a misplay from the opposing trainers to win. After this adventure, we head to the Space Center, where Team Magma has decided to stir up trouble again. They should know by now that in this game, our Zigzagoon is untouchable. In the double battle, we even managed to take very little damage, as does Steven's Metang. We handle the situation before heading to the seafloor cavern to deal with Team Aqua this time. I'll show you the battle. Archie sends out his Mightyena, and we use Belly Drum with Zigzagoon. Then it's all about using Return. We take a bit of damage from Crobat, but in this fight, Sharpedo doesn't attack, so it's a win for our Pokemon. Kyogre escapes, and we go wake up Rayquaza. You know the rest. Once the situation is back to normal, it's obvious we should challenge the 8th gym. Historically led by Wallace, it's Juan who takes the reins in this version. The first duel duel is against Lovedisk, and we have to be cautious. Since it's a different gender, it could infatuate us. To avoid that complication, we start with Return. Against Whiscash, we use Belly Drum to get the party started. One return, and the second Pokemon is down. Celio, KO'd in one return. Crawdant, same thing. Finally, even the Rain isn't triggered, and Kingdra is slower, so it also goes down without a chance to retaliate. We now have the Rain badge. The path forward became clear once we learned Belly Drum. We know what we need to do to finish the game, head to Evergrande City, cross Victory Road, and take on the Pokemon League. The first battle is against Wally, who awaits us in Victory Road. We're at level 77. As expected, we start with Belly Drum to boost ourselves, and his Altaria does the same. However, we're still faster, so the Festival of Returns can continue. But let's keep all spectators seated and spaced 1 meter apart, respecting safety guidelines. Even Magneton can't withstand us, and in the minimum number of turns, we've already swept Wally thanks to our incredible attack. Now onto the ultimate challenge, the Pokemon League. The first trainer we'll face is Sydney. We're already familiar with him from the challenges I do regularly. Of course, our first move is Belly Drum, especially given our defense drop. Once that's done, we cheer up our buddy, and what a relief, none of the opponent's Pokemon in the league are capable of putting up any meaningful resistance. So, we defeat our first trainer in under 2 minutes. Who would have thought it would be this easy with Zigzagoon? The question now is which Pokemon will resist us, which trainer will be fast enough to deal damage, while our HP is halved. In any case, we move into Phoebe's room to face her. Her Pokemon are Ghost type, but that's no issue for Zigzagoon since it knows Shadow Ball, which we picked up at Moltpire. With Dusclops' first move being Protect, we can safely boost ourselves. This time, we change Shadow Balls, giving the Ghost Pokemon no chance. It's starting to get embarrassing for the league, I must admit, but hey, we use the tools we have, and when those tools include Belly Drum, things become a lot easier. I'll skip over the battle with Glacier, as it was pretty much identical to the previous one. Belly Drum, return, 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 return. We know the drill. We move on to Drake, hoping for a noteworthy challenge. The fight begins against Shelgon, who doesn't use Protect on the first turn, but instead, Rock Tomb. This gets a bit annoying because now we've lost speed. When we finish off the Dragon Pokemon, Altaria comes in next. It's faster than us, but opts to boost itself, which doesn't matter. One return gets the job done. However, against Kingdra, Surf sweeps us off the field. This marks our first defeat in a while. Still, it won't hinder our progress. All we need to do is restart the fight against Shelgon and hope it doesn't use Rock Tomb, an attack that caused us a lot of trouble early in the game against the first gym. With that, we managed to sweep Drake's team. One key takeaway, don't lose speed. It's one of Zigzagoon's success factors, and it's worth noting. Now, on to the champion Wallace and his water-type Pokemon. The first hurdle is Wailord, because the more HP it has, the more damage Water Spout deals. Fortunately, this time, it opts for Blizzard, which hurts but much less. Knowing Wallace will heal it when its HP drops to red, we set up Belly Drum, and with Return, we box the whale out of the ring. Against Tentacruel, we go for Dig, which is super effective to conserve our returns. That leaves us just enough to use against Ludicolo, who fortunately isn't faster than us. At this point, we rely on either Dig or Shadow Ball. For Whiscash, we choose the Ghost-type move, as it's stronger than Dig in this generation. Then Wallace sends out Gyarados, which lowers our attack. This is where disaster strikes. We can't one-hit KO it. Gyarados retaliates with Surf, which miraculously, we survive with 1 HP. Wallace heals it, but since we got it down in one hit the first time, Magikarp's evolved form, our former partner, is KO'd before we face the final Pokemon, Melodic. Unfortunately, our attack is too low, so we can't finish it with Shadow Ball. Naturally, when it gets a chance to attack, 1 HP isn't enough to hold on. We restart the battle, giving Zigzagoon a small ether to restore its PP. I'm confident this will go smoother with full power. The rematch begins against Wailord, and this time, we waste no time setting up Belly Drum. However, as I feared, Water Spout KOs us immediately, marking our second loss to the champion. It's not a big deal though. It's essential to lower its HP first, before boosting ourselves. In the next fight, we simply hope it avoids that move on the first turn. When it does, we're at +4 with half our HP and a good stock of returns to wreak havoc on the league. Wailord is one-shot, Tentacruel gets a dig, and the main issue in this battle comes from Ludicolo, who outspeeds us with Swift Swim and puts our HP in the red. Thankfully, we one-shot it afterward, along with Whiscash. This time, Gyarados doesn't stand a chance and gets one-shot, which is a promising sign for the fight against Melodic, since we still have our stab return at +3.5. At last, Return crushes Wallace's hopes of victory, and we become the Hoenn League champion. While this accomplishment should be put into perspective, because of Belly Drum, it's worth noting the struggles we faced earlier in the game. The first major challenge was Roxanne, where we had to level our Pokemon to the 30s, an enormous feat for that stage of the adventure. Similarly, Watson in the third gym required 10 extra levels to overcome Magneton, especially since we needed to learn Belly Drum, which proved crucial later on. The last big hurdle was Tate and Liza, where we had to grind XP, primarily because of the nature of their double battle. It quickly turns into a 2v1, throwing the duel off balance, but once those 3 challenges were behind us, it was smooth sailing. The opposing teams offered little resistance, and we reached the league, sweeping through it almost as quickly as we did with Rayquaza in our Flying Monotype challenge. Incidentally, that was my first solo challenge on the Emerald version, one that I hold particularly dear. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's a Pokemon you'd like to see next, feel free to suggest it. I'm always on the lookout for good challenge ideas.